Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Brad Olsen. First, I have a couple of announcements. Right now, if you make a donation of $20 or more for production of our next film, you're going to get a free PDF of Cory Hughes' book, A Warning from History, and a free download of our first film, Occult Louisiana. You can also help by purchasing the film right now from our website. It's only $3. You can also get it with a Rokfin premium membership. You just go to rokfin.com/FKN+. Our website is forbiddenknowledge.news. If you sign up for a Rokfin premium membership, you get access to the film, all our premium content, and all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. Today I want to welcome back to the show Brad Olsen. He is an award-winning author, book publisher, and event producer. His keynote presentations and interviews continue to enlighten audiences at several events, and he has appeared on dozens of radio and television shows, including Ancient Aliens, America Unearthed, Beyond Belief, and Mysteries of the Outdoors. Brad, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on Forbidden Knowledge, where we talk about all things forbidden and knowledgeable.
That is right. I love our conversations. We're going to get deep again today. We're going to once again explore the esoteric realms just beyond our perception, how there is currently a thinning of the veil between the material and unseen occurring right now. There seems to be a spiritual war that has been waging since the creation of man, but for a very long time we were under a collective spell that kept most of humanity asleep and in the dark. But a new era seems to be dawning, and it's time for all of us to rise up and wake up. Unfortunately, this includes each of us as individuals facing our own demons and healing ourselves so that we can defeat all of the unseen enemies and free everyone's hearts and souls from the prison of perception that we've all been in at one time or another. So there's a lot unfolding right now. We each have a lot of work to do, and there's a lot to discuss. Before we get into any of this, remind the audience a little bit about yourself and your work.
Hey, Chris, I totally agree with you. It is a personal battle as much as it is a macro battle of the Great Awakening for everybody to involve themselves. We all have skin in the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
It just depends on to what level you want to be at. I myself have been traveling around the world my whole adult life, been to all 7 continents, including Antarctica 5 years ago. So this has given me a really good world perspective, all the while visiting the sacred places and megalithic sites and so many of these places that really define who we are as a species in this world, and given me this global perspective that really everybody is in this, whether they know it, like it, or not. It is an awakening process that will affect all humans on Earth. In fact, I think it even affects the animals and even the mineral world, that it's this major shift in consciousness. Some people like Dolores Cannon said this is our shift to 5D into the new Earth. And it's not like anybody's going to disappear or dimensionally shift up. It's just going to be new perceptions and abilities, superhuman abilities are going to be start coming to us in a very natural way. And I write about this in my esoteric series of books, how we all have these abilities. We just have to relearn how to use them again.
100%, man. Very well said. Let's start with your travels this year. Like you said, you've traveled the entire globe searching for answers and finding out the true esoteric traditions of our ancient ancestors. Have you had any interesting travels so far this year?
Well, really, since the old pandemic rollout, it's been hard to travel internationally, but those barriers are starting to drop. You no longer need that passport thing. And so I am getting ready to go to Southeast Asia in a couple weeks. First international trip since I was down in South America 5 years ago, except for one driving trip into Baja, Mexico a year and a half ago. So it's good to get my feet wet again. but I've been traveling around the U.S. mostly, going to conferences and filming various projects. For example, I did a 8-part series with Billy Carson in Florida this summer called The Secrets of Antarctica. And that's on forbidden knowledge, spelled differently than yours with the letter or the number 4, forbidden knowledge. And that has just been released. Nice. So doing a whole bunch of stuff with conferences and different work video projects really has been my travel agenda in the last year.
They've had a lot that happened this past year. What's your perspective about the state of society, where we could be going, and with everything that's unfolded, do you have hope that in the coming months and years that there will be positive changes on our planet?
Well, I am an optimistic person, so I think optimistically that we are going to shake the yoke of this oppression that has a stranglehold on humanity for many millennia. And really, the way we do that, this is the Escape from Prison Planet, which is the subtitle of my book, Beyond Esoteric, is it's really a great awakening of the human race. And that's why everybody has skin in the game, whether they know it or not, because it's really our own personal responsibility to start waking up to all the lies and deception and false history we've been told about. And once you do, it does free the mind. Or as it says on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the 2 most profound words of the ancient civilization in Greece is to know thyself. And once you start to know thyself, really everything else starts to open up to the individual. So that's why I think the next coming years are going to be absolutely pivotal in the human race. Because if we don't, the stakes are very high. We will be in the worst form of fascism anybody could ever imagine, way worse than 1984 by George Orwell, and something none of us want to have to live through, or have our children or grandchildren live in a world like that. So the stakes are quite high, and we have to get through this, and I think we will.
I've seen that, especially in the past year, a lot of the wokeness is fizzling out. A lot of the insane ideologies and agendas that were attempted to be forced on us are being rejected in huge ways. And I see that this is a great victory for us, but it's going to cause the dark side to throw more at us, to throw everything but the kitchen sink. And honestly, I don't know how much they have left besides this massive global World War III that they're trying to propagate as we speak. But how do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, like you said, they're going to throw everything they got, because they're much like a cornered animal at this point. Yeah. And they're being exposed like never before. So we all know that when an animal is cornered, they fight back the most viciously they have, because they're fighting for their very existence, for their lives. And that's what's happening with the cabal. They're being exposed left and right. People are waking up to the deception. Even the normies are really questioning whether this schedule of shots is really necessary. The latest one, it rolled out with only 7% uptake. So over 90% of the people don't want it anymore, are seeing through it, are not feeling good from the first ones they took, and are starting to realize that there is an anti-human depopulation agenda on this planet. And that's what we need as our ammunition to fight this great evil, is to just understand that they're not working on our behalf, and we're going to have to get rid of them before we can move on and start a new system.
100%. Now, I've noticed, not just in myself and my friends and loved ones, that there have been spiritual and physical attacks on people in different ways, and it's manifesting in different ways, whether it is some sort of spiritual attachments that people have, or just the awareness that people have been lied to and under this slave system is causing a lot of detriment, and it's causing people to question a lot of things. And there is a major paradigm shift, and because of that, it shakes people up, and they have to go through what is seemingly a dark night of the soul before they can even start thinking positively about everything. And because there's so many people just waking up right now, they're going through this darkness. They're going through this questioning of everything that I went through whenever I first started waking up years ago. And I think we all have to go through this before we can even reach a positive state of mind. But what I think is occurring is the dark side knows that this is happening, and they're using the confusion and the depression and the unsureness that people have as a weapon against them right now. And it's very concerning, but I'm very positive that we can push through this, and I think people are coming to this awakening stage because they know they have to heal themselves, because there is a battle coming, a spiritual battle that has been waging but is just coming to the surface for most people. And speaking of attacks, have you heard that the producer and director of Fall of the Cabal supposedly, quote unquote, committed suicide? Janet Oswald, I think her name was.
Oh, yes, I did, and it's very suspicious because she had written a letter and a note that she was not suicidal, that she didn't want. So she obviously had been getting threats, and unfortunately, Janet Oswald's body was found last week, so it's confirmed she has passed, but very suspicious circumstances. And so that also can show you that they're getting very desperate. When they start to attack the messengers, then it's pretty much one of the last things they can do. That censorship is the last play of the fascists, and we're seeing that play out, as well as people's accounts being taken down. You and I both have had massive censorship in our social media and video platforms. We don't have to name names, but I think everybody knows which ones they are. And this is a desperate move, because they had nothing to hide. If we're just conspiracy theorists, why would they even care? Right. But if they're coming down this hard on people like Janet Oswald, then it's a last desperate move.
Yeah, and what do you think about what I was saying about the spiritual attack on people? They're taking advantage of people's weakened mental state, because I know when I first started finding out about this, I went through severe depression. I went through questioning of everything, sadness, relationships crumbled. So it was not an easy time in my life. And for people that are just now waking up, which there's thousands and millions of people that are recently coming to these conclusions, it's going to be a difficult period until they can get to a place where, say, for example, we are now, where we're not in this dark place anymore. We have lifted ourselves out, we've healed ourselves, and we're trying to start to put the energy out to heal the rest of the world. But most people can't do that until they face their own demons, and I think there's an attack on those people, especially right now, to try and prevent them from completely waking up. Do you see that at all?
Oh, absolutely, Chris. You're spot on with that observation. And it is an energetic war. It's kind of like the person who just has an awakening. They're the nail that sticks up in this energetic field, and they get hammered back down. And and I've met countless people who have come up to me at conferences or get in touch with me and just say, I'm having this awakening moment. It felt so good. I'm starting to see through the matrix. But then, boom, I get energetically attacked in my dreams, with my health and so many other things. So that's the other level that this is at, because the stakes are so very high against having the human race wake up. Because once we do, it's really game over for them. We have the numbers, and once we have the knowledge, then why would we go along with anything that they propose anymore? But really, Chris, I do believe that the controllers of this world, we often hear the names Rockefeller in this country or Rothschild. they're really the colonels and the captains in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the generals who are really calling the shots here are, I can't even say that they're human.
Right.
They could be hybrids, or they could be of a extraterrestrial nature. Look, everything is about ownership. What do they say in our law? That ownership is 80% of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are owners of this planet, or at least they perceive themselves to be the owners of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they would even say that, hey, we helped create the life forms, or we brought them from other places, put them here, and we engineered the human race. We took some of the proto-humans like Neanderthal or Homo erectus, mixed it with a different kind of gene pool to give humans enough intelligence that they would follow orders. Okay, go in the gold mine and dig us some ore, but dumb enough not to question authority. And I always find it interesting how we still use the word Lord in so many different ways. Our God, Father, Lord above, or our landlord, and the lords that own the land.
Yeah.
Well, that's them. That is the controlling element. And that's really what this fight is all about, is shaking the yoke of this oppression.
You said something very important that we should touch on, and that's who they are. And you hit it right on the head, that these people that we know their names, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, all the elites and globalists that are seemingly putting forward these agendas, are not the ones that are in control of the bigger picture. And I've been speaking with this a lot about people, that everything is so compartmentalized with these agendas, with the unfolding of everything, that the right hand will never know what the left hand is doing. And these people, they just have their direct orders. They're doing this one little operation that they're supposed to be focused on, but they have no idea what the big picture is and what the grand outcome is supposed to be. They're just following their orders, doing their part because they believe they will have some sort of reward in the end, right?
Well, that's it, Chris. And I call them cutouts, these humans that are going along with this plan in my book, Beyond Esoteric, where I get into the control structure in great detail. But I think what we also need to keep in mind is we don't even know who they are. Yeah. That's the greatest trick the devil ever played, is first to make us believe he doesn't exist, but then use these cutouts so we blame it on them. You could follow the money. That's the old saying in journalism. If you can't make sense of a story, just follow the money. And the Swiss did a study, and I profile this in my book, Future Esoteric, that they were able to follow the ownership of the biggest corporations of the world. And it just comes down to 146 individuals, many of whom don't even have a name, that they hide behind a corporate shell. And they're the real owners of this planet. And that's what I mean. We really got to get to the meat of the matter here and call out these supposed owners, because they're the ones doing all this stuff. And they're the ones behind this anti-human depopulation agenda. So it's really in everybody's best interest to start grokking this concept that we have to fight back against the owners. You know, it's the whole model of the plantation, that there were way more slaves on the plantation than there were as a master. And once the masses say, hey, we don't have to take orders from this person anymore, there'd be a revolt. And that's what the plantation owners were always the most afraid of. And that's exactly what's going on in the world today, is these owners are being exposed. We're finding out who and what they are, and saying no more. We're not going to go along with it.
It seems like everything that's unfolding is based off of some prophetic outcome that is desired, like a playbook, like an apocalyptic playbook that these entities are working from. They are presenting the problems, we react, and they present the solution as well, which is supposed to lead us into this age of Armageddon. So I'm wondering if this is some sort of way to force our planet, the entire world, into this prophetic apocalyptic age, but they believe that they can change the outcome somehow.
Right. And this is what they've been trying to do with the high technology of the looking glass technology, is trying to game the system to lead us down this Armageddon path, this World War III total destruction of the planet, and they'll go scurry into their underground bases. That's timeline 2, though, Chris. That one is a very small percentage chance of succeeding now. It had been a bigger percentage chance of succeeding a few decades ago when they were trying to game the system with the yellow cube. But now that technology is also fallen in the hands of the white hats, who are also using it.
Well, tell us about the yellow cube. What is this? What is the yellow cube?
Well, it's featured on the cover of my book, Beyond Esoteric. It is a device that was demonstrated to the generals in 1964 during the renewal of the Greada Treaty. And this was always an exchange of technology for these malevolent ETs to be able to do human abductions, to do the cattle mutilation, to basically run their part, their show, and their bases not being attacked. And we've gone along with it for quite a long time because our generals were just so hungry for this technology that they went along with it. But so every fourth year of a decade, and the next Greada Treaty is meant to be renewed next year in 2024. And I just hope people become aware of this and know that this treaty is really null and void. They're not speaking on behalf of the humans because how could they? We've never been told of this. But in 1964, they demonstrated the yellow cube, which is a holographic image generator, but it's powered by the memories of the people or operators who are holding it. And so in the case of 1964, it was at Holloman Air Force Base, and they came down as a prescribed meeting and said, here's the technology we're going to give you. And all the generals who were assembled were all Christian men, and they were asked, what event from history would you like us to demonstrate? They said, well, we would like to see the passion play of Christ, the last hours of Jesus Christ. Apparently, he was a very real man and died a horrific death in the way we've been told through Christianity. And they were just blown away because it would generate the exact scene right there on Calvary Hill when he was walking up with the cross and being put up to his death on the cross and even the resurrection. So it was very real at the time, and they've been using it as a way to try to advance timeline 2, because that's the way they stay in power. That's the way these malevolent ETs want to take it. So, for example, when you look out in the sky and you see them chemtrailing the sky, is that anything good for humans or any kind of life? No, it's not. But why does it persist? Well, maybe it's good for another form of life. And they want to get the planet back. But there's 8 billion of us, so they need an anti-human depopulation agenda. And Chris, the worst form of slavery is the kind where we build the constructs of our own prison. They want us to go down this path to do the enslavement of ourselves to ourselves. And when you wake up to this, like you said, it's the dark night of the soul. How could anything be so evil and malicious to have us do this? But you have that wake up, and then you realize, I'm not going to go along with this. This is my way of opting out and stopping this agenda cold in its tracks, at least on an individual basis.
I think you're onto something with that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, but it starts on an individual level, but then collectively, once enough of us start to do it, they cannot succeed with their plans.
Yeah, I get the sense that for the longest time, we've given them permission and agreed to go along with their plans because they can't do anything without our approval, without our ability to manifest the outcome. All they can do is plant that seed in our mind, give us some sort of fear to back up what they're trying to put forward, and we do the rest. If we're scared and we need a daddy government or an official to protect us from this unseen enemy that is always surrounding us, that is what they use to get that outcome manifested. They use some sort of fear campaign, false flag event, or just chip away at the human emotion and human consciousness through trauma, pharmaceuticals, and drugs, and everything that we've agreed to let them control us with has been our downfall. But now we're not agreeing to it anymore, and we're saying no. And this is where the difference starts, right?
You got that right, Chris. That's exactly how they've tried to do it. How we're breaking free of it and how we're going to win this is just by non-compliance. Certainly they're going to roll out another attempt at getting everybody to get jacked up on the mRNA stuff, and no way, no chance. But a lot of people are also not going along with it, not like they did the last time. And that's a really good sign that a lot of the normies are now starting to wake up. And that's what we need on our side. We need the people that were on the fence the whole time to say, hey, wait a minute, something's not right about all this, and I'm opting out as well. Because that's really the only thing we can do as nonviolent people. If we take up arms against them, we're playing right into it. Then we'll get slaughtered. They have bigger guns, they have better trained troops. Nobody wants to see it come to that. So the best thing we can do is what Martin Luther King and Gandhi and all the great peacemakers who advocated nonviolent resistance is just do not comply. Just don't go along with it. And it has huge end results.
Now let's start talking about who the unseen are and how they are controlling our perception. Recently, Tucker Carlson just came out and made a statement that he believes that they are not aliens, but demons. And we've heard this many times. And since I started doing this show, extraterrestrials and UFOs has always been one of my favorite topics to cover, but my perception of what's going on here has shifted many different times, and it continues to change based on the information that I have and the events that are unfolding. I do believe that there is definitely a metaphysical, spiritual element to what we consider extraterrestrials. I don't think they're anything of what we've been told by the media, by Hollywood, by our government. I do think they are spiritual entities, but I do think there are definitely two sides. There is a dark and a light side, and I believe that the side of Source or God or the light is part of who we are as humans. They are somehow connected to us, some sort of cosmic ancestors that help us and lead us in the right direction. Maybe it's us from the future in some sort of way, communicating with ourselves now. I don't know. But that, to me, is the side that is lifting humanity. And then we have the dark side, which are feeding on humanity, preying on humanity. They're parasites. They whisper in everyone's ear, especially these high-level, quote-unquote, elites and globalists, and they get them to do their bidding because they can't do it themselves. For whatever reason, they are not creators like we are. They cannot manifest certain outcomes, so they have to use us. And I think there's a duality. There's a dark side and a light side, and whether you want to call them extraterrestrials or angels or demons, I really don't think that matters because they are what they are, and they've always been what they are. I think it's just been our perception that's changed over the years, and we just see them differently. We used to see them as angels and demons, and then we started to see them as extraterrestrials as the modern age unfolded, as technology started rolling through. And now we have both sides to consider of what they are, but in the long run, I don't think it matters what they are. I think it is what we do with them, how we react to what is unfolding, and who and what we align with. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right on target there, Chris. Isn't it interesting that all the time we've been growing up and studying this phenomenon, We've been told, oh, look to the skies. They're coming from a faraway planet, extraterrestrial, meaning outside of our Earth, but they're coming here to our terrestrial planet. That's what we've been taught all this time. But all the while, what about right below our feet? What about the inner terrestrials in the multitude of the old legacy bases that I call them, such as Dulce, New Mexico, Mount Shasta, Solomon Islands, and a dozen others around the world that have been there for not just hundreds of years, but millennia. So this is the workaround that they've been able to get around the whole prime directive that you're not allowed to interfere with an emerging civilization such as the surface planet Earthlings. Because they say, well, we're of Earth too. We were born in an underground base, but we're here of Earth. And just in the same way that we would look at cattle as livestock, they look at humans as their livestock. And this is another thing that people that go down this rabbit hole, when you start to study the reptilians, that really they are the top of the totem pole, that there is a predatory species that feeds on humans. And that is something 90%, especially even in the UFO community, have a really hard time wrapping their head around. But I have a chapter in my book, Beyond Esoteric, of being aware of predatory species. And indeed, they prefer adolescents before they're too toxified with all the fluoride and other chemicals that we put in our body. And this is also where you get into the adrenochrome harvesting and the child trafficking too. It all starts to make sense. Like Bill Cooper said, you put the aliens in the middle of this stuff and you get all the answers. But you touched on a really important point, Chris, and that's we have to consider that there are malevolent or evil service to self ETs who are just going to do their agenda no matter the consequences. But there are also the benevolent or the angelic or the multidimensional, the ultra-terrestrials, who are not directly interfering, but do want to see humans wake up and perhaps, like we said earlier, in their dreams or in meditation or just thinking deeply into the subject, that they would come to the individual and help them make decisions and start to see this tangled web of deceit in a very clear light. And once you do, once you see the light, once you know thyself and basically align yourself with it, this information comes flowing out. And yes, horrible, terrible things have been done to our fellow humans, but that can come to an end, and it doesn't have to go on. Just like when somebody comes from a violent family and their father was beat up by his father and so on and so forth, there just comes a time when some individual just has to say, it stops with me. Yes, I took the abuse, and yes, I understand that I'm not going to perpetuate that any longer. And then it breaks, and then it dies. And that's a beautiful thing for the individual to go through that process.
100%. I wanted to get into the human aspect of the dark side a little bit more when it comes to our military-industrial complex and their role in it and some of the dark black operations that have been unfolding. Based on the testimony of hundreds and maybe thousands of abductees and contactees that I've spoken with, the positive experiences that people have are usually based in meditation, some sort of consciousness exploration, even dreams, where these beings are non-physical, but they are interacting with a person's consciousness, either astrally or through a meditative state or through an altered state of some sort. These beings come, and for me, whenever I had my contact experience, it was all about healing my inner child, dealing with trauma I had, and getting to a better place in my own life before I could even start looking into things outside myself. It was all about healing myself, and that is the common thread with, I think, the positive contact experiences that people are having. And then we have the other side where people are being taken from their homes, physically taken, abducted, and having their memories wiped, being hypnotized, probably drugged, subjected to some sort of mind control experiments, and there may be extraterrestrials involved. People report seeing, like you said, reptilian beings or mantis beings or gray aliens, but they also report seeing military personnel, humans in military uniforms, doctors, and personnel in wherever they're being taken that are doing these horrible medical experiments, these taking DNA and hybridization programs, all this awful stuff that humans are involved with. And this seems to be the big line between the good side and the bad side, is that there is human involvement with the dark side, and they are being led to do these awful things, and our military at the highest level is being used to carry out some of these operations. So that's the way I see that we can tell what, if we're dealing with the dark side or something that is beneficial for us.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I didn't grow up Christian, and I just now starting to understand what the whole concept of making a deal with the devil means. And that is, we see it in Hollywood, putting the hand over one eye. We see them making the triangle symbol. And these are all Illuminati symbology to say that we've accepted these controllers as our masters. And it's coming to an end because we don't need to do that to be successful. That used to be the model. If you want to really succeed, that you have to give yourself up in different kind of ways. But you can be successful without that. And that deal with the devil is starting to really make a lot of sense. Or the Faustian bargain that, oh, I'll get rich, or I'll get famous, or I'll have people who worship me in a celebrity status kind of way. But we don't really need celebrities. I mean, when was the last time you got a flat tire and, a celebrity came out and fixed your tire, or you needed some plumbing done and a celebrity came out? Right. Who are these people? They just made a bad deal, and they'll pay the price ultimately, as anyone who follows what happens when you make a deal with the devil. Yeah, you ultimately will have to succumb to that bargain, whatever it is that you made. If you really need that fame and fortune that bad, well, there could be a price to pay that will hold you down. So I think, especially in our Christian nation here, that people start to understand that there is this battle between the dark and the light, the good and the evil. It's very clear. We live on a planet of very stark duality. This third dimensional reality can be very much in your face all the time. That's why a lot of people have a hard time being here, especially if they have memories of a lifetime off of planet Earth in some kind of benevolent civilization. But Chris, I do believe we've all volunteered for this mission to be here on Earth during this period of liberation. And once people understand that they're part of this as well, every one of us is, then the Great Awakening starts to move into overdrive. You know, that was only a term that was just started at the beginning of the CV scam. And now it's gaining much more traction, that even normies are realizing that the Great Awakening includes them as well.
You mentioned Hollywood and actors and the roles that they play. I believe that the entire purpose of Hollywood and the media is to plant the seeds of perception, of future events, of what is possible. We all know that Hollywood and CIA has had this marriage since the onset of Hollywood, and they've been feeding Hollywood producers information on what our reality really is. And in turn, they produce these films and TV shows that will get us to view things in a certain way and even manifest certain outcomes based on the emotional state that these films cause us to go to and the conclusions that they cause. But the actors in these films, like you said, they've been probably used from a very young age. They've been probably subjected to very traumatic things, and some of them we know have been in mind control programs. So all of Hollywood, all of our mainstream media's purpose is perception management, and that's all it's ever been, and it's trying to get us to manifest the age that we're in now. But really what I'm hopeful about now is Hollywood and our mainstream media is crumbling as far as what it was traditionally. People are checking out, and all the films that have come out that have predicted basically what we're facing now, even all the incredible sci-fi films, alien invasion, pandemic movies, government corruptions, spy movies, they've all been telling us the truth of what's happening with a little bit of fantasy to get people to believe that that's all it is. But they do this so that we can manifest certain outcomes in our reality. But because Hollywood seems to be crumbling and failing and wokeism seems to be being choked out, that weapon is going to be useless very soon, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you bet it is. Already, look at how movie attendance is going down. You see movie theaters closing left and right. Look at how they tried so hard to make the movie about child trafficking last summer go away. They took over 5 years to get that out. And then you had to buy your ticket online, and they would turn down the thermostat and make it really cold on a hot summer day and do all these different things to sabotage that movie, Sound of Freedom. But it didn't work. And people wanted that kind of entertainment, even though it was a pretty harsh light on what's going on, although not nearly as harsh as what's really going on. I mean, they had to tone it down to certain degrees to make it plausible for a family to go see it, which, of course, had a happy ending. They got the kids back, but in reality, only one of the kids did come back. The other one had been lost. So Hollywood is trying its best to, what they have to do, and this is a very occultic process, is called the revelation of the method. They do have to tell us what they're doing. And so many times in these Hollywood films, especially, how about this new one that is produced by Michelle and Barack
I was just
Obama
about to ask you about this one, Leave the World Behind. Yeah,
what a product of predictive programming.
Yes.
Oh, it's all hacker attacks. So you know they're going to blame the EMP on hackers and anything else that they can. And here you see what the power of suggestion will be. I like a meme that says, I don't watch movies anymore to be entertained. I watch them to decode them. And there's so much decoding in Leave the World Behind, as well as Sound of Freedom, if you read between the lines to see what the agenda is. Because, Chris, we live on a free will planet. That means we all have the ability to make up our minds and determine what information we want to take in and what narrative we want to believe in. And so they know that. And in a free will planet, we have to be told anytime they're trying to push something down our throat or to get us to create constructs of our own prison. But that's all coming down now because people are reading through this and are decoding movies like the Obama film. That when did presidents get into producing movies? I don't
especially about the destruction of America. I mean, come on,
right?
And you're right. Obvious. The symbolism and the messages in this movie are so incredibly predictive that you can't deny that this is going to sink into people's psyches. It had such this feeling of doom the whole movie. People will watch this and internalize this, and that's what causes different manifestation outcomes. If enough people believe in something and enough people are expecting something, well, maybe that something might come to fruition.
Right. Or we can reject that notion and see through it for what it is, propaganda and predictive programming, and just it's still good to see these films just to see what they're projecting on us, what's going to be coming down the pike here. And 2024 is going to be one of the most pivotal years in the entire history of humanity. This is when it all comes to a head. I was just on with Nino Rodriguez the other day, and we're talking about how this year with the election coming up, and now Maine just took Trump off the ballot, and this is going to be very contested. We might not even have 50 stars on our national flag by the end of this year. It's going to come down to a real fight. Now, I'm not saying I'm a big Trump fan, but I'll tell you this, as long as the establishment hates the guy's guts, I think he must be doing something right. And he gets my attention for that reason alone. So this is going to be a very pivotal year, and this is why I say we all need to be aware of the coming changes, and we also need to be prepared for a blackout scenario, which is predicting in Leave the World Behind. Yeah, the hackers are going to do everything. Take us out, take out all our electronics, drop the internet, even the power. How crazy would society get? There's an old saying that goes back to the French Revolution, that total societal collapse is only 8 meals away. So once people are hungry for 3 days and can't get food, they just go nuts. And that's why everybody has to have some kind of plan. I would not be stuck in a big city this year, because just like the predictive programming, Leave the World Behind, all the highways get clogged up with cars. The self-driving Teslas start crashing into each other. I don't know if that's going to happen, but certainly getting out when everybody wants to get out is going to be more and more difficult. So just be ready to hunker down if you have to.
Right.
Because
and I feel like
you said earlier, they're going to throw everything they got at us, and they want to take down America. We're the last bastion of freedom in the planet. So if America goes, there's no other country that can stand up to this globalist agenda.
Well, I feel like they are aware of the awakening and they are terrified, like we said, so they're throwing everything at us. But I feel like the longer they go without having these major events unfold, the more we're going to wake up. So that's why I believe everything has been unfolding so quickly, and they've been doing one attack after the next since 2020, and it's been relentless. Well, it's also going to be their downfall because they're too desperate, and these attacks are also waking people up. So until they do the big one, the big false alien invasion, nuke a country, something hugely detrimental, cyber attack, something like that, until that happens, we're all going to continue to wake up, and we're all going to continue to band together as much as we can. And if that happens, they will have no chance. The more people wake up, the more people come together and realize that it is us against them, and that they have been suppressing us and enslaving us for centuries, the more powerful we become and the less of a chance they have to having that major event even working.
Yeah, and this is the best ammunition that all your listeners have, is to just wake up to this agenda. Do not participate in the construct of our own enslavement. Don't go along with these plans. Don't get any more of the wackadoodles. Yeah. And just in that way, that's our way of leaving the world behind. We're leaving the Kabbalist world behind. We don't want to be a part of this occultic world order agenda. But you brought up a good point about the fake alien agenda, which, by the way, is slated for 2024. And I outline it in my book, Beyond Esoteric, that it's going to be this multi-pronged step to get us there. And we're already seeing the early stages start to transpire, and that is using weather warfare, also the financial collapse. We see that as just teetering on the brink of total collapse. And it's all a strategy of tension to get people in the most stressful position possible before they spring this on us. And it would be so realistic that they even have voice-to-skull technology, that you would be hearing voices in your head. Part of the alien invasion also has the Messiah appear in the sky as a hologram. And like Werner von Braun told to his assistant Carol Rosen back in the 70s, don't believe any of it. It's all fake. But it is what they're going to have to use to usher in this one world government, which is certainly, we can see in the planning stages, and it has been for decades. The only difference now is they're overt with it. They're above the surface. They're not in their smoky boardrooms anymore. It's out there for everybody to see with the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy, and you'll eat bugs. And they're projecting this future they want for us, but we're not going to go along with it.
And I have began to completely see what NASA's role in everything since the beginning, since the formation of NASA, is that they were preparing humanity for this alien reality through space exploration, knowledge of the stars, bringing us the scientific information about what's beyond our atmosphere and all the possibilities of galaxies and the solar system and the universe. Eventually, we have to find life out there. I mean, it's infinite, so why wouldn't there be infinite forms of life throughout our galaxy? And I think this has all been a slow preparation for the revelation of extraterrestrials. And I'm not even sure that the nature of space and space travel is anything like what NASA has been telling us. And I am in no way a flat earther or anything like that, but I believe that our reality, our realm, this planet is much, much more than anything that we've ever been told, and there is much more to our reality, and it's much more of a metaphysical realm that exists beyond our perception, and that these life forms also exist everywhere, just beyond the spectrum of our vision, and they interact with us in different ways, and most likely they're not coming from different galaxies and planets on little tin cans to stick things in our butts. There's probably much more to this reality, and I think that's been the whole role of NASA all along.
Oh, you got that right, and that's why I say, look right below our feet. What about interterrestrials? Isn't it interesting? So little attention has been focused on that in ET and UFO studies. Maybe they've been here all along, and boy, you sure see symbology and even UFOs and people in craft and Middle Ages artwork and all throughout time in the Far East. In the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about the Vimana, the flying craft of ancient India, and these terrible wars that took place between the two continents, Lemuria and Atlantis, and that could have been the downfall of those civilizations. And even in Mohenjo-daro, an old city along the Indus River in what is today Pakistan, when they were uncovering this old city, they found people dead in the streets, just holding hands, like some shock event had hit them. And then somebody had the mind to bring out a Geiger counter and found out that they were highly radioactive bodies, that they had been hit by some kind of nuclear device that just wiped them out in an instant. So it is kind of a history repeating itself moment, but we have to know our history to know ourselves. And so much of our history has been altered and changed. What's the old saying that the victor of a war writes the history? And Voltaire, the French philosopher said, history is the Mississippi of lies. It's been changed and altered so much to keep us from knowing who we are and perhaps from repeating past mistakes.
I want to get your thoughts on one of the most polarizing individuals in our mainstream reality besides Donald Trump these days, and that's Elon Musk. And I personally believe that there will be no one to come along and save us. There's not going to be an individual that cares enough about humanity to use all of their power and resources to save humanity, although that's the perception a lot of people have of this individual. I'm not so sure, especially with all the technological things that he's trying to roll out, like Neuralink and putting chips in our brain and all these things that bring us further away from our connection to source and nature and God. But what do you think about this individual?
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I think in some ways he really bucks the trend. He bought Twitter, renamed it X, brought back Trump and Alex Jones and all these people that got censored. But on the other hand, promoting Neuralink, I don't think I want that. Why would I want to put an implant in my brain? I don't even want implants anywhere in my body. So there's parts of him that I'm really on the fence with. Why is he doing that? Why is he pushing that part so hard? But having a car that doesn't run on gasoline's probably a good thing. But really, he should have been going towards hydrogen, because now we're seeing a lot of fires and problems with battery-powered cars. Great that they're not polluting the atmosphere, but hydrogen doesn't pollute. And those have been known to just run on water. You get a hydrogen converter as an engine, and that's your fuel source. So that, I think, would be the real approach to solving the CO2 crisis. And I'm not even sure that there is a CO2 crisis. That plants need CO2 to grow. Yeah. And we're cutting down all our trees, so maybe we need to help the plants and trees grow better.
I think that with the perception of Elon Musk and what he represents, I don't think that people should be relying on this. And we look at all the players in general that seem to be on the right side of history. You mentioned Alex Jones. I talked about Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump. I'm not sure that they really are. I think that there is both sides of this same bird, both wings, this two-headed hydra, this eagle versus serpent, but both sides are part of the same malevolence. Their job is just to get us as far apart from each other and separated, right wing, left wing, the political spectrum, and nowhere in the middle. And I think the truth and where we all need to be is somewhere in the middle with each other instead of separated with this right-left paradigm. And I'm concerned about what's going to happen with the major swing back to the right, because we've seen the left swing with the insanity and woke ideologies and technocratic madness that's been unfolding. But then we also see it starting to swing back to the other side as people get angry and don't want to put up with the insanity that the left has put upon us for the past few years. They're going to their emotions will be played on by the extreme right, and it's going to possibly cause some sort of new era of totalitarianism where it's so extremely right that we're in a new form of Nazi Germany.
Well, that's where noncompliance really plays a big role. And I think you're right, Chris. The left and the right, they're two wings of the same bird in many ways. And maybe we just need to do away with this whole notion that we have to send representatives to Washington, D.C. If we were to have a really true and free internet, we could make our own votes, our own choices, and then we could just bypass all of these representatives who we find out have to really raise a lot of money, and how they raise money through fundraising compromises them. So it's not a pure system as our founding fathers had envisioned it to be. that it has been co-opted. And so we really have to rethink all the systems of the world once we get rid of this Kabbalistic power, this global elite that basically run the show for their invisible master that we don't even know who's giving them their orders. So it's so corrupt from top to bottom. I think it just has to be broken down and done away with, and that we have to come back with some kind of government or structure. I always advocate laissez-faire, the hands-off government. Less government is more, to the point where you're paying taxes. How about just a straight sales tax? That's what Nasara Jassara is saying, that there's no more income tax. There's no more taxing on things you've already been taxed on. Just a straight up income or a straight up sales tax, 15%. And then that's enough to fix the potholes in the street. That's enough to pay the teachers at our schools. And that's enough to have a very limited government. That's the future I would like to see, not only in this country, but really around the world.
100%. Well, let's end on this. Is there any final notes, any final suggestions or advice or insights that you would give everyone about how to handle the upcoming months and years and navigate through the madness?
And we talked about it earlier, and that is, don't cave into the fear. They know that fear is a very powerful emotion, and that's why so many of the movies and the media play on our fears. They keep us in a fearful state, then they have us where they want us. But if you're able to promote goodness, love in your heart, compassion, in service to all, then you really can start seeing through all this stuff a lot better than if you're still stuck in fear and provoked into anger. So do away with those lower emotions and try to cultivate the higher emotions. And that's what each individual one of us can do.
100%. Well said. Great note to end on. Brad, thank you so much. This was great. We'll definitely have to do this again soon. Before you head out, remind everybody where they can find all your books and content.
Sure, yeah. If you want to find out about my books and other authors I publish, it's at cccpublishing.com. And if you order a book through that website, you get a signed copy if it's one of my copies of books. More about me and my upcoming 2024 conference schedule, you can go to bradolsen.com. That's BRADOLSEN, one word, .com. And I hope to see you at another one of these conferences, Chris.
Yes, sir.
We finally got to hang out and eat.
Yes, we'll have to make that happen.
All right, my man. Well, thanks again for having me on. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We're really on the same page, and we're working towards the same goal, and that's the liberation of the human race. It's really nothing short of us taking back our sovereignty on this planet.
100%. Brad, thank you again. We'll do this soon. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow, and we'll see y'all then.